Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
I almost forgot our intro, Luke. I stuttered there for a second.
I know. I was like, what is he doing? I thought you froze for a second, but no, you just completely blew the intro. And that's okay, James.
Thank you.
We never re-record, everybody, ever. I do zero editing. I think I've done one bleep one time for you, never for me. But other than that, all of our episodes are original.
Original. The O. Today we're talking about top video games for engineers.
So right out of the gate, folks, I'm the curmudgeon. I'll talk about it later in my rant, but I know next to nothing about video games. I have not played a video game, James. Guess how many years?
Well, you're going to lie to us because I know it's not been that long. You're going to say 28 years.
Not 20. So I haven't played a video game since before I was dating my wife. We've been married 22 years plus 2 years. So it's about 23 or 4 years since I've played a video game.
28 felt pretty good.
It does. So you were good. That's a good number.
I thought you played on the Raspberry Pi for a little bit.
For like 5 minutes, and then I couldn't figure it out.
There you go. So, okay. Yeah, I guess that's fair. All right, Luke. So I know that my list is a little bit more extensive than your list because I do, in fact, play video games, though not as much as I wish I did. So how about
you wish you did?
Yeah, I wish I had more time to play video games. I'm going to start off. And my first video game for an engineer is... Well, I guess it's a whole series. It's the Civilization series. Have you ever heard of Civilization?
So I think this is where you build stuff, fight other clans or villages, and you take their stuff and make your stuff.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Facebook ads like crazy is all I get for these things, right?
Oh, you get Civilization ads? Okay.
I don't know why, but
I think there's 6 of them that have been out, and so it came out way back in 1991 was the original. I think the guy's name is Sid Mears or Sid Myers or something like that. But Sid's done a good job. He's done all right for himself. And this one might be a little bit of a stretch saying that it's for engineers compared to some of the other ones we talk about. But hear me out here. So this game, you start off as a little tribe, like you're saying, and it's way back when, the dawn of mankind. And your whole plan is to grow your civilization, right, into a modern civilization. So you go from caveman days all the way up to
spaceships
days. Yeah, spaceships and everything else. And there's multiple ways for you to win the game. You can have a diplomatic victory where you're friends with everyone, and that's
no
boring. Fun. Yeah, you can have a military victory.
So this is multiplayer.
It's multiplayer or multiplayer against the AI, against the computer. Gotcha. Military. There's also a technology victory. So the space race, if you're the first one on the moon and then you colonize Mars and so on and so forth. So lots of nerdy stuff there. But this technology thing has this technology tree that advances over time while you're playing. And it has different items in there. You have to invent the wheel. So check out our top 10 inventions, Luke. The wheel is one of our top 10 inventions, I think. Or you have to invent computers or satellites. But throughout this timeline of stuffs, you have to learn one thing before you can research the next, so on and so forth. And so there's different paths to advance your technology. So I feel like there's a lot of good stuff that goes on for engineers here, worker placement, where you're going to build your towns, resource management, and then just understanding that history and timeline of when things generally were invented, and some of the loose technologies that it would take to launch your spaceship, colonize Mars, etc.
So James, I'm going to give that a big thumbs down for engineers, just saying.
Well, you are the authority on this, so that is okay by
because
me.
Because I'm a gamer. Okay,
you're a gamer.
I'm coming right out of the gate, James.
Okay.
Pong.
Okay, I need to hear this one because Pong is really a complex, interesting game.
So Pong is one of the first computer games ever created. Fun fact.
You're so old, Luke.
Fun fact: the Atari, it was actually used as a way for people at the company to practice, is how it started. Another fun fact: Atari sold
practice what?
Just gaming, because this was really early on in the game.
Going like this?
Oh, hold on. I'll get to the engineering piece of it.
Okay.
Another fun fact, Atari sold more than 35,000 Pong machines, but this is only about 1/3 of what they think the total number of machines, and these are arcade-style machines, because literally the minute Pong came out, it was so simple, they literally cloned it almost immediately, the arcade style game, and they called it like a Pong with two G's, and like all these other companies kind of stole it. So,
That's unfortunate.
so it was originally developed by Alan Alcorn. It was released in 1972 by Atari Corporation. Did you have an Atari?
Yes. I was too young to really remember it.
So you had it with a single joystick red button.
Yeah.
Okay. And it became a huge success overnight, relatively speaking, not as huge as Civilizations. And here's why I believe the gameplay itself is really good for engineers. So the gameplay is, the goal is to defeat your opponent by being the first to score or gain 10 points as the player misses the ball. So if you know Pong, it's essentially a square. You have two flat, I'll say, bumpers that one person controls and the other person controls, and the ball bounces. It's literally, it is air hockey. So, but what happens when that ball in Pong hits one side and goes to another side? It's all geometry, James. So you have to be able to instantaneously. So as a young kid, think about what you were doing in your brain. So like when you were whatever, 3 years old, 5 years old, playing whatever, like you're literally doing like instantaneous geometry in your head.
Not
like super accurate geometry, but accurate enough where it's going to bounce off that wall. You're going to calculate roughly where it will be when it intersects your bumper. And then there's also like you could put spin on it. Like as it got more creative, you could like be there and move away, so it would create spin. So now you're dealing with multiple types of physics, not just like trajectory of the ball, but you also have like, I'm not sure it was probably super accurate, but you could actually put spin on it.
I'm impressed, Luke. I didn't think there was an engineering tie into this one.
I mean, you have
fooled me.
Instantaneous geometry, like in your head, and then there's some hand-eye coordination involved. So because you had to be where the ball was coming, essentially. So
there you go. I'm sold. I'm a believer in Pong right now.
All right,
next for me, I am going with SimCity. Have you heard of SimCity?
I think my niece played this when she was in like middle school.
Okay. How long ago was that?
Like 10, 15 years ago, I think, when it first started.
All right. So SimCity came out in February of 1989. So, I mean, you were only like 50 back then. So that's pretty good. But it's still going on today, Luke. More and more versions are coming out, right? Because they can make lots of money on that because it's a wonderful game series. So SimCity puts you at the seat of like a city planner or like the mayor or like a construction company, whatever you want to imagine it as. And there are different kind of playing modes as well, depending on what version of the game you're playing. But you're in charge of putting down everything from like roads to zoning areas for your city. So like residential versus commercial versus industrial, things like that, as well as making sure your city has all of the necessary utilities and whatnot being generated. Yeah. So you have to like build power plants, which then run electrical lines to your houses and your buildings. You have to build water treatment plants and water pumps, run power to those.
So infrastructure, you're designing and developing infrastructure.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. So it's all about infrastructure. So really, I know we maybe poke fun at civil engineers every once in a while, but I feel like this is like civil engineering 101 kind of training. If they were good at SimCity, they should be able to be civil engineers because it's pretty basic, right?
So here's my perception of what I thought SimCity was. I thought you basically made the most attractive looking avatar you could make, and it was all about catfishing other people.
That's called Instagram. That's different.
Okay. Not a video game.
The metaverse, yes.
That's the meta. Okay. I could have swore that like at least way back in the day, like it was all about like you made little avatars and like you went to clubs and hung out. And
The Sims is like that. And that's focused on the individual and then building their house.
There we go. Okay. That's what she played.
The whole shebang.
Okay. I had it wrong.
So really balancing hydropower versus nuclear power versus coal, understanding how it impacts the pollution levels,
Interesting.
understanding the sizes of roads like highways versus smaller roads, controlling that traffic, the steepness of the hills and mountains involved. There's all sorts of stuff that goes into SimCity for at least the civil engineering side of things.
Okay.
So that's my next. But before we go on to your next great pick, probably can't beat Pong, let's take a break for a word from our sponsor.
So I have to assume this is Microsoft, Nintendo, Atari, Sega Genesis.
Sega Genesis. All of these folks reached out and I was like, I just can't pick one. So instead, I chose not to have a sponsor this week. But I do have shout outs, Luke.
Who do we got?
First, we have Trisha W. Thank you for your podcast. They make the drive to work more entertaining and interesting. I love your podcasts. I am solely a Spotify person. Do you have a podcast about the Industrial Revolution? Could I also get some stickers? Thank you for your time and have a terrific T-Rex Thursday.
That's like probably the nicest worded letter we've ever received.
Yeah, I don't know what a terrific T-Rex Thursday is, but I
either.
love it. And it even had a little T-Rex emoji.
Like a little emoji.
Yeah, which is awesome. But I thought the Industrial Revolution's a great idea.
That is a good one. That's a very good one.
I bumped that up towards the top of our list.
Sweet.
So when we're deciding. Next, Nate F. Hi, my name is Nate.
I thought that was it when you said hi. I was like, wow.
That would be great. Very brief. I'm 13 years old and live in Indiana. I've been listening to your podcast for a while now, and it brings me so much joy. I would love a shout out if it's not too much trouble. Nate, it is not too much trouble.
It's not at all.
Shout. Thank you so much for being a light in so many people's lives. Please do more Raspberry Pi shows. So Nate, there's your shout out. I'm glad we can bring you so much joy. I've never thought of it this way, but
this is
he's right.
This is back to back, like two of the best. Like, I feel so good about myself right now.
Yeah. And he signs it, Nate, a proud listener of Unprofessional Engineering.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm feeling really good about
myself. Oh my goodness, I'm getting all the feels now, James.
You should.
Thanks, Nate
get
Dog.
As many feels as possible. Yeah, so I guess if any of you want to write in and say nice things about us like that, thank you both, by the way, you should go ahead and do that. If you want some free stickers, which I'm running out of, so I'm going to have to stop announcing those. If you want to just say hello, anything like that, go ahead and email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com.
And don't forget to like, subscribe. We love the reviews. And as always, you can tell your smart devices to play the Unprofessional Engineering Podcast anytime.
Oh, Luke, I forgot. We also have the Unprofessional Engineering store that is now live. Oh, my
goodness.
You could be the first person to purchase an Unprofessional Engineering
we
t-shirt.
Still haven't had a single purchase.
You know, it's only been a couple years. So head over to unprofessionalengineering.com, click on the little store tab. It'll take you over to a new landing page, and you can buy so much stuff.
So the URL looks a little shady, but it's legit. Trust us.
It is shady, but yeah, I'd have to pay to get it integrated into our page. And, you know, I don't sell any t-shirts, so I can't afford that. All right, Luke, what's next on your list?
All righty. So I'm going old school again, James. And you know where I'm going next. I am going with none other than Tetris.
I hate Tetris.
What?
Please continue.
Oh my goodness. So Tetris, a little bit of history. It's a puzzle video game that was created by a Soviet software engineer named Alexei Pajitnov.
I think that's most of it.
Pajitnov. Pajitnov.
Yeah.
In 1984. And the gameplay, essentially, if you recall, there's descending what are called tetranomes. So tetranomes are four-sided geometric shapes that are composed of four different squares. So it could be a straight line, it could be a left L, a right L, all four of them in a square, a left offset, a right offset, or a T. So those basically fall in some sort of order, and the goal of the gameplay,
that like zigzaggy one.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then the right offset.
Gotcha.
As they fall, you need to line them up appropriately to avoid gaps to complete a single row on the bottom or multiple rows if possible.
Yeah.
And you get in the way the point structures are, the more rows that you drop, you get points. If you do double rows or triple rows or quadruple rows, you get like bonuses. And the game's been changed, so many times. It's been owned by multiple different companies. But fun fact, in 1993, Tetris became the first video game to make it into space, according to the Guinness Book of World Record.
Ooh, I like that.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So so here's the reason. Again, I'm going back to a little bit of geometry, a little bit of quick thinking on your feet. So essentially, what you're doing when you're playing Tetris is you're taking this geometric shape, this tetranome, and you have to decide. You can move it left or right, and you can also rotate them. And what you're doing, again, like instantaneously, as Tetris started to evolve, the speed of the pieces would move faster. Like the very first iteration, it just kept falling and falling and falling, but it gets faster the higher the levels. And what you're doing is you're making, really quick, couple of second decision how to orient that piece. So you have to, again, it's a lot of geometry. You're going to rotate it. You're going to move it to the right 2 spaces, then move it down. And then the next piece shows up and then you're going to do the same thing. So in my mind, you're doing this really instantaneous type of geometry. And another fun fact, James, someone did a thesis on, could you play Tetris indefinitely based off of the gaming algorithm. And they determined that ultimately the algorithm for the pieces dropping and them being done randomly in combination with the speed, ultimately there would be no time for you to hit the key quick enough to make an adjustment when it got to like the top of the row to fit into itself, because they come down so quickly and it'd be so random. Like ultimately it would not be able to run infinitely. So I want to know why you hate Tetris. Because you're not good at it?
I mean, that's probably not unlikely, but it's just so boring. Like,
really?
Here's a square. Go match that into the square hole. I did that when I was like 10 months old. Like you get those blocks and I like put the circle in the square and it's not working. That's basically how I play Tetris. I'm like, oh, I'm going to flip this. And I put it the wrong way. And then I have a gap in there and I get all mad.
I think the reason why I like games like Tetris and Pong is I'm all about the leaderboard. It almost doesn't matter what the game is. I just like moving up a leaderboard and getting more points.
What about Pac-Man? Would you take Pac-Man over that? Donkey Kong?
I like Tetris.
Tetris.
I'm not
What's your favorite video game of all time?
My favorite video game of all time that I've personally ever played.
An engineering.
Oh, it's not okay. So it was a video game back in like the late 90s, I think. It was called Delta Force Land Warrior, and it was like a first-person marine like shooter army game kind of thing where you would I played that a lot. That was the last video game that I probably played extensively.
Okay. Well, then, I guess that's that. All right, moving on. Can I go to my next one?
Please do.
All right, so I have so many listed here.
If you want to do a couple quickly, and then I can just jump into...
I'm going to do 2 quickly.
Okay.
First, I'm going to go with No Man's Sky. Have you ever heard of this? It was released in August of 2016. Okay. Super highly anticipated release of this game. It came out. It was kind of a flop. I think there were a lot of issues with like the server and the game speed. And it's basically this endless space universe that you can explore, right? And you can go to different planets, and each planet has different minerals and materials and stuff on it for you to explore and extract and all that. So like a lot of the engineering games that I looked at for this list, it's all about like, you're in space, your spaceship crashes, you need to survive. So you have to build shelter. You have to get the resources to build shelter, and everything builds off of each other, right? Like you can dig up dirt and you can get like a crappy metal like cobalt, and you can use that to make stuff. But then to get off of the planet, you need more advanced minerals. So you have to get away from your base further and gather up more stuff. But it's all about building like fuel cells. You can build solar panels, run the lighting from the wiring from the solar panels to your batteries, because you have to have batteries to store the power. Otherwise, you run out of power and it gets cold and you die on your planet. You have to build your spaceship, all of these good things, just so that you can leave your planet and go explore the rest of the world. So real quick, like super cool. Now that it has a lot of the bugs out of it, still seems like a few people are playing that. And my next one I'll give a shout out to here is a game called Fantastic Contraption. Have you ever heard of this one?
No, but it sounds like a Rube Goldberg kind of thing, which I love.
Yeah, it is. It's similar. So this original, the one that I played, actually came out in 2008. So this was like, I think back in the Al Gore days.
Oh my goodness, that's old.
Hard and playing this, but really, it's super basic. You had a handful of components, like a wheel that moved forward, a wheel that just wasn't powered at all, like a stick, which was like a unflexible kind of linkage, and then a watery one that was more flexible and could swing around. And then the goal was just to get this orb from like the starting spot over to the finish spot. And there could be giant gaps in the way where you'd have to build a bridge, or you might have to like throw the ball over. And it's just an amazing thing to see all the ideas that you can come up with, or other people come up with, to solve the problem. Like maybe you build a tank that's holding this ball and it drives over everything. Maybe you build a conveyor belt that like moves it over where it needs to go. Maybe you catapult it over. It's
interesting. Now that sounds very engineering to me.
It's so engineering. It's super basic, but super complex at the same time.
Yeah, because you're dealing with like rigid bodies, flexible bodies. You're dealing with like inertia and probably velocity, and there's probably bounce in the ball.
Were they like free body diagrams or something back in the day? It kind of gives me that feel. And then like you cut the trusses and all of that sort of stuff. That being said, they have come out with a newer one, and it takes advantage of VR, and it's like a whole immersive world. It got pretty bad reviews though, so I won't suggest that you go play that one. Before we go to your next one, Luke, let's take a break for this week's Luke's Rant.
So my rant is video games, James. I'm not one of those curmudgeons. I am a curmudgeon. I am a curmudgeon. You are. Like these kind of video games like we're talking about here, I get, it kind of makes sense. There's some geometry involved. Maybe there's some critical and anything that promotes critical thinking, I'm totally for.
I'm very critical.
You are very critical. Not a critical thinker, but just critical in general. But like the video games that I don't get, and this is like, and I'm gonna sound like, whenever you play music backwards, it says the devil and stuff like that. But like violent video games completely like make you like think that you're like you can do that sort of stuff. I just saw this article just this morning about all these like gamers that do like the first person shooter game, like I don't even know the names of the games, and they're like, oh, we all want to go over in the Ukraine and help defend the Ukraine. It's like you live in your mom's basement and you play video games with your buddies until 3 o'clock in the morning. You're not equipped physically, mentally, spiritually, professionally. You don't even own a real gun probably, and you think you want to jump on a plane and fly to the Ukraine and pretend like you're shooting avatars? To think you're qualified in some way to actually be a soldier because you play a game where you're a soldier is two completely, totally different things. And that's fair. And when you think about like just what that, so me and violent video games are like, and I used to play one way back in the day. But it's just, I think it's just a really bad idea. Like it's just, I don't know.
I'm with you. Okay.
I sound like a complete curmudgeon right now. I know I do, but like kids, don't get into violent video games. Do like stuff that's like James was talking, like AR or VR. Driving games are kind of cool as long as you're not running people over and stuff like that. Like that one game. What was that? What was the game where you ran people over?
Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah. Don't do Grand Theft Auto. Do like a racing game, or do like a game where you learn something. Like not a game where you just like shoot people. That's just
terrible. I bet there's cool F1 games or something.
Exactly.
Optimize your car. That would be neat.
Something where you can learn something.
All right. Well, thanks for
Sorry.
that, Luke. I didn't know people were doing that stuff. I'm going to give you two things, though. One, not violent video games, but they do have studies out there that are showing kids that play video games become much more proficient for like hand-eye coordination. So they make much better surgeons when they grow up and get real people jobs. So that's cool. And also, I'm about to get a game called Elden Ring, which probably everyone but you has heard of. It has some George R.R. Martin connections in the plot line and stuff. And it's basically like magic and swords and all
It's
of
a
that
video
good
game?
stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm still equipped to go attack someone with a sword after I play this. So I'll let you know. When I show up at your house with like a wooden shield and a sword, you'll know what's up. All right, moving on, Luke. What's your next engineering video game?
I think we're going to run out of time, so I'm just going to jump right to the next one that you, I'm sure, have a lot of stuff on. And this is Minecraft. And I know about this primarily because my daughter played a little bit of it for a really short period of time, and then I put the kibosh on it a while back.
But it's so good for learning.
It can be in the right hands. So Minecraft, if you didn't know what Minecraft was, in 2019, Minecraft was created by a cat by the name of
2011.
I'm sorry, I saw 2000. I saw 2009.
Oh, maybe
what
9.
I saw.
That's
2000. I'm sorry, I must have. Yeah, 2009. Minecraft's created by a cat by the name of Marcus Persons. Also known as Notch. I guess that's his gaming name or something like that. I guess. I don't know. It was originally called Cave Game. And here's a quick description. And this is the original kind of traditional Minecraft.
It was called Cave Game?
Cave Game was the original. Good thing they changed the name.
Yeah, for sure.
So Minecraft video game. Players is a video game in which players create and break apart various kinds of blocks in a three-dimensional world. The game's two main modes are survival and creative. In survival mode, players must find their own building supplies and food. They also interact with block-like mobs or moving creatures. In the creative game, they're given supplies, but they don't have to eat to survive. There's also all kinds of blocks immediately available. So essentially, you're basically taking these blocks around you and breaking them into smaller blocks, and then they have things inside them that you can use to build up bigger blocks. Fun fact, in 2014, Microsoft bought Minecraft from Marcus, aka Notch, for $2.5 billion with a B dollars, which is bananas.
It's a lot of dollars, Luke.
So you can add whatever you need to Minecraft. I'm sure I got most of that wrong.
Well, first off, Microsoft, if you would like to buy the Unprofessional Engineering podcast from us, I promise you I will sell it for less than $2.5 billion.
Way less. Like 2.4.
2.4, yeah, even. I thought you did a good job. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. There's actually stuff that helps you with wiring, running electricity. I think it's like the red powder and red blocks or something like that. But I actually saw that someone created a computer inside of Minecraft, like the RAM and the memory. It was a quad core computer that you could actually play other games on inside of the game. Like it hurt my brain.
That's like Matrix level kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, it hurt my brain. So I closed that video really quickly. But yeah, there's some good stuff in there. All right. I'm going to go with two of them again, Luke. And these are both, we're going to say, very Clark influenced. So my buddy, he doesn't really play video games often, but he watches YouTube videos of other people playing them.
That's weird.
I think so too. Until he gets bored, and then he goes on to a new game. So the first one that we're going to talk about is a game called Factorio.
I saw this one.
Yeah, so this came out in February of 2016. This was on like all the lists, right? If you just Google like top engineering video games or something like that, this is going to be on there.
Pong was not.
Shockingly, Pong was not on there, but it's a Luke favorite, and that's okay. Factorio is kind of what you'd probably guess. It has to do with like factories, right? So this is a game where you build and maintain a factory. So you mine resources, you research technologies, you build your infrastructure, and you basically automate production. So you're like this person. Again, shockingly, your spaceship crashed somewhere. You're on this remote planet.
Theme.
Yeah. So Nothing unusual, all the same kind of theme. And your guy's super handy, right? He can do anything. Like he's like you, Luke. Like if I give you a knife and some glue or duct tape, you can MacGyver anything.
Oh, I could build you a car.
Yeah, so the Factorio person's the same way. He can do anything himself. It's just fine. But you can't do it as an individual efficiently enough to be successful and get off your planet, right? So what you go about doing is building an automated factory to start pumping out your materials and really piecing everything together so that you're making stuff so efficiently that you're then able to invest it into something else to become more efficient elsewhere and continue to build up your factory until you win the game. Fun fact, over 3 million total sales to nerds like me. So
you bought it?
A lot of no, I don't have it, but nerds like me though.
Like
my next one, and this is actually my number one on my list, in case we're running out of time.
Okay, that you like?
That I think is the best engineering video game.
Okay, gotcha.
Not my number one game of all time. Those aren't engineering related. They're violent and they involve shooting people. No, they don't. They involve swords and magic. Number one on my list for engineering video games is the Kerbal Space Program.
I saw this one. I saw a video with these little funny people that looked like they were cute. They were looked like little weird pickle alien things.
There you go, little weird pickle alien things. This came out way back in June of 2011. And this one I have played before, and I found it difficult to fly my little spaceship, but maybe it's because I designed it poorly. Who knows? So basically, the whole goal is to build spacecrafts, fly spacecrafts, and then help your little Kerbal cute pickle people shoot off into space and get out there as far as they can. So the further you get, the better off you are. More stuff unlocks, like different types of engines and different ship designs that you can work on. So you just access like this ton of parts to assemble like really fully functional spacecrafts that fly around, or in my case, they don't fly around very successfully. And there's like realistic aerodynamics and orbital physics that come into play with this. You have to be able to launch your crew and shoot your rockets off. You have to control the angle of your ship that's flying. The more aerodynamic your ship is, the better it is for getting through the atmosphere and off into space. And then the further you go out into space, you can like dock your spacecrafts together to make a big space station. You can use satellites to scan space around you or the terrain of other planets. You can set up telecommunication networks and communicate between your spacecraft and then the Kerbal Space Center. There's just all sorts of crazy things. So it takes like that same kind of building from Fantastic Contraption, but instead of those 4 parts, there's like a bajillion, and it's all about launching your spaceship into space.
Interesting.
Do you have any others, Luke?
So I don't have any others, but I do have, I wanted to ask, what is your favorite video game of all time, if you had to say?
Probably Skyrim. And again, it's a
Skyrim?
SKYRM, maybe? Skyrim?
Okay.
I don't remember how to spell it. You're basically a sword wielder or a magic user. You walk around killing dragons, and that's that.
Okay. So back in, I don't remember the name of the movie, but this was I used to, as a little kid, when I used to go to the arcade, I used to play like those where you were like a little spacecraft and you were shooting like aliens.
Oh, yeah.
There was a movie back in the 80s. I was just trying to find the name of it and I couldn't. So I don't know if you remember, where this kid was playing a video game like, outside the trailer park that he lived at. In the game itself, the console game was actually a test center for like this futuristic.
Whoa.
And what happened was, when you beat the game, the future people show up and you get recruited to go fight for the universe. And it was just good. I remember the movie was a terrible movie. But yeah, it was,
that concept.
I'm drawing a blank on what it was. I remember I watched that movie like a million times growing up. So
have you seen the Ready Player movies or read the book?
I thought that was, I saw the movie. I thought it was all right. It was interesting.
Yeah. I'm told the book's a lot better.
That's what everybody
says.
But
I don't read books. What am I? Yeah. Go on. A couple other shout out games here. Fallout 4, the engineering part's just kind of a subset of it, but it's really, really good. Another one, Besiege. You basically make a war machine to drive over castles and peasants and all the other cool things to destroy. You can put drills on the front of your war machine. It looks really cool. Space Chem is another one. Just listen to the name. Portal's all about problem
that's where
solving.
You put like 2 little holes and you jump through them or something, right?
Exactly. Yep. And then Ark, it's very similar to No Man's Sky that I described previously, but it's kind of like you're just on a deserted island and dinosaurs meet you instead of space. So all super good engineering-ish games for you aspiring engineers. Anything else that you want to add?
That's all I got. Don't play violent video games, kids.
That's right. Don't play violent video games unless you have a sword or magic, then it's okay. If any of you want to tell us about any video games that we missed on our list, if you want to say that we've now inspired you to go play more video games, if you just want to tell Luke that he should play something other than Pong, go ahead and email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. And until next time,
see ya.